All right, the Halo campaign evolved. Trailer came out. This is my reaction to it. I don't normally do unedited deals like this, but this is just going to kind of be a rant. This is kind of my worst nightmare. They are optimizing nostalgia. I think what we're seeing now is they thought they could be lazy with nostalgia bait, and we're in the process of watching them get very good at it. You're kind of seeing this in other forms of media. I'm not going to go off on a big tangent about that, but they're putting more effort into just regurgitating the same things over and over for more money. And I'm going to go ahead and say I'll probably buy it. I mean, I love Halo, but does anyone actually believe that they're going to recapture the atmosphere? Like, if you actually listen to this video, which you can do on your own time, they talk about how important the mood is about bringing in split screen co-op because they got rid of it. So what they're doing is taking the feedback and bitching from the fans and saying, okay, we'll fix those things then. But that's not going to make them more competent. Like, what are the odds of this game actually working day one, first of all? Unfortunately, we're seeing this with Gears of War also, where their incompetence has kind of damaged the brand to the point where they're going back to the original well. And I think they're scared to move forward. So they probably had the discussion at Halo Studios as if they're not the same retards from 343. And what they're doing is saying, okay, we need a surefire moneymaker. Why this wasn't a Halo 3 remaster, I couldn't even guess. I guess they're just really insistent on this Unreal Engine deal. Because a Halo 3 remaster, to me, seems like more of a sure thing than this. But this is going to do well. Like, the original Halo came out when I was 10 or 11. So I am the perfect demographic for this. I'm an adult with a full-time job and the money to spend. I'm assuming $80 or $90 are going to charge for this shit. And they're going to get everyone's money and it's going to work. And the lesson they're going to learn is, let's just give them what they want, but also they're less talented than the original people who created the things that people didn't even know they wanted. Of course, they can innovate nothing, and that's kind of been the death of the Halo IP. The irony, of course, being, if you read the Halo books, the weakness of the Covenant, oh my God, well, you can hear how often I fuck up. The weakness of the Covenant is that they're imitative, not innovative. And they are literally imitating the same game for the third or fourth time at this point with a new polish. And like, yeah, the graphics look awesome. But I don't know if they actually understand what made Halo so special at the time. You know, at the time, there was really nothing else like it. It was a really well-balanced game. The graphics were cool. The world was cool. It's a super dynamic campaign. And there's a million ways to beat it. And that's, especially if you're getting into stuff like speedrunning and kind of glitching. Like, I wouldn't be surprised at all if they're like, oh, we want it to be just like the original game and not affect the gameplay. But then you can't run the warthog through the doorway in the silent cartographer and, you know, swing yourself out through the door before it locks. Or if you can't use the weird angles to hijack the Banshee on the assault on the control room level, or the massive jump from the bridge that took a million times to learn, or the keys bump where you have to get essentially pixel perfect to glitch out of the level. You can beat it in like 4 minutes. It's that kind of funny. I'm actually doing a Halo Lazo playthrough right now just on my weekends because I am a full-time adult, sadly. And I'm on the library right now. God, it's miserable. Everything just explodes. And I do the save quit workaround because I'm not at that level that I could straight up beat it. But, you know, they even talk about skulls in this video. And all that stuff at the time was incredibly creative. To be able to have a game that you can play through feel so different on every difficulty, but then have your own modifiers that you can go through and take the game to an entirely different level of difficult. I'm not even sure if I've seen other games do that still. Because the game still feels, I wouldn't say balanced because it's incredibly hard, but it feels fair. It's like a fun challenge. It's not broken. And back in the day, I'll go ahead and fucking boomer it up. If you wanted to find the skulls, you kind of had to go into weird forums or like very niche websites. There's nothing they can do about this, but everyone just goes through a walkthrough on YouTube now. That's what I do. Obviously, when you work all the time and you're busy, or there's just things that you would never find on your own. And like the skulls in particular, I would never ever find. Like, I don't know if anyone's ever gotten all of the skulls just for the achievements and stuff, but the one in Halo 3 where you have to run through all the rings is like, I don't even know who would figure that out. And I guess there's like specific noises that it makes. Sorry, my fat cat wanted back into the room. I don't even know. I think there's like specific noises that it makes. And I guess you could figure it out that way, but I never ever would have. And then, they brought back Steve Downes and Jen Taylor, obviously the voices of Master Chief and Cortana. And I hate to say it, it's a reality of life that they're getting older and they kind of sound like they're impersonating themselves. I don't know if anybody watched Daredevil and then Daredevil Born Again, but Vincent D'Onofrio lost quite a bit of weight over the 7-year gap or whatever it was. And he sounded like he was trying to impersonate himself. And that's kind of how they sounded to me in the couple little lines of dialogue that we got here. I mean, it's not a knock on them. It's just kind of what happens. But it's just one of those things that, like, you can't get the magic back. I've also seen a lot of people complaining about Sprint. I am not a huge fan of them including that. But if they're going to rebalance the entire game and, justify this essentially resale price for the fucking third time or fourth time, I think they have to make changes like that. The entire thing is just kind of a bummer to me because I mentioned Gears of War before, and they can't move forward with Gears of War 6 because they don't know where to go. They put in a decision to kill a character, and I don't know how they're going to move forward without canonizing one of those choices. And I think Halo is kind of in the same bind here where, Halo 4 was kind of like the canary in the coal mine if you're really paying attention to the story for things getting worse. That was also when the combat became more like it wanted to be Call of Duty. And then Halo 5 had one of the best marketing campaigns I've ever seen, but the story was tantamount to a bait and switch on top of trying to undo Cortana's death from Halo 4. And then Halo Infinite, they literally brought back a crappier Cortana. The game was supposed to be some kind of Fortnite Battle Royale type map. And they were like, well, shit, let's turn it into a super generic, repetitive open world game. I mean, that is what that is. Like, you can tell if you play through it and capture all the bases and stuff for the achievements. It's very repetitive gameplay and super annoying to do. It just feels tedious after the first part. And they brought back essentially the shitty, we have Cortana at home, or Timu Cortana, or whatever you want to call her, with the weapon, who's like on her period for part of the game and mad at Chief. Who wants to fucking deal with that shit? People deal with that in real life. They don't want to deal with it in their games. You can hear some of the jokes that probably wouldn't have made the cutting floor. And Gears of War did the same thing. So now what they're doing is saying, well, shit, we can't move forward because we've butchered everything. So let's go back in time. So Gears of War, we're getting E-Day. Again, I'm sure I'll buy it because I love Gears of War. Re-listen to the first audiobook right now. I forgot how good those stories were. Even though a lot of people don't like Karen Travis. But anyway, that's kind of like what I think we're seeing with Halo. Is they don't know what to do with the story. Every story that they've come out with since Reach and ODST, they've gotten negative feedback because they've done things like try to tie the story to the books and then expect people to read a trilogy to play a game. And then when they get negative feedback, they just completely abandon the plot lines because they have no vision. They have no confidence in their own abilities. They're just looking at the bottom line going, will people buy more copies if we continue the story? Or will they buy more if we redirect? So they keep redirecting and redirecting. And eventually they're just lost. They don't know where to go. They don't know where they're going. They don't have an end goal. Halo 1, I mentioned before how dynamic and innovative it was, especially at that time. I mean, it was like the face of gaming for a while from the Halo 1 to 3 era. Like Halo 2, right? The gameplay was the first really big online game that I remember, on console or Xbox. You had the dual wielding, you had the fact that you play as the Arbiter for half the game, which, at the time I did not like because I just wanted to be Chief. But as I got older, like story wise, not only is that it was a very smart decision to give you a look into the Covenant, it's kind of a bold decision to have you play as the antagonistic side who's eventually working your way over to the human side. Halo 3 introduced equipment with like the lifts and the bubbles, still had the dual wielding, had super balanced maps. And all this stuff made the games a ton of fun to play. Like every level in Halo 3 is very distinct in feel. Even in Halo 1, obviously, when they ran out of budget, the last couple levels are just the first ones in reverse. But even then, things are broken up. The Flood are now part of it. They did enough to make them feel like a different level, even though they're physically not. That kind of innovation has not even been considered since Reach or ODST. And it's a shame because even something like that I'm not a huge fan of, like Halo Wars, let's say, they tried to bring an RTS to console and they expanded the universe and you got to see other Spartans. Like it's still a pretty cool thing. I mean, to me, what this says is they've just kind of given up. They are content with whatever will make the most money right now. Like they're not thinking even long term about the brand and the value depreciating. Because how many more times are they going to remake this? If they build a new tech engine, are we going to get our fourth or fifth or whatever attempt we're on of Halo CE, or are we going to get Halo 7? And they're going to do something new. I mean, I think even a battle royale, which obviously the concept is not new, you can modify it to make it interesting and fit to Halo. To me, this is frankly just depressing more than anything because it's almost like they're admitting their own incompetence and inability to think. And they're just saying, okay, well, we can just take the old stuff, make it pretty, modify it. And as long as our modifications don't break the game, people will be happy. And, I'm actually probably more lenient on Halo CE anniversary or whatever than most people because I understand why people were frustrated that they ruined the atmosphere in many ways and they brightened things up and they sort of took out the horror feel that it had. And I get that. I think from a purely like cinematic perspective, I agree. But gameplay wise, I like being able to see more and I kind of like the clarity. And, obviously you have the higher frames and all that. But I don't know. For me, this is sort of the open admission that they just don't know what to do now. Like before, they were arrogant and they thought, okay, Halo's simple. It's just a first person shooter. As long as you have Chiefs say cool shit and they can kill each other, we'll throw some shit in there from Call of Duty. People will love it. And now they're saying, okay, well, we're not capable of that. This is like Dunning-Kruger, where your confidence goes down as you learn more. They're like in that middle part right now. Because they're not ever going to get to expertise. They're just going to get to better cash grabs. Yeah, it's just really, this is kind of the embodiment of everything wrong with media today. In the same way that, when you're getting your 10th Fast and Furious movie along with your 8th Mission Impossible, which I like Mission Impossible, but still, and your 40th Marvel movie and your, 10th Terminator and Predator movie that have completely lost the plot. Like the idea of originality is just gone and it's not even being attempted outside of like small budget indie things, which are going to be limited in capacities that the big studios are not. So they're just operating in very risk averse ways. I'm curious to see who is actually excited about this announcement, or if they're just hoping that they can kind of suck in a new generation of kids. Because this generation of kids is lost to Call of Duty and Fortnite. What's the other game? I can't even think of the other one that's super popular that I haven't played, obviously. We saw this with Metal Gear Solid Delta, where it's just a remake, and you can tell they don't understand the nuance of what made it beloved, kind of stripping out the 70s atmosphere, or 60s, I guess, vibe, and the whole gritty, dreary feeling that game wanted to encompass. And if they're able to actually enhance the quality or the graphics while maintaining those moods, I think it is going to work on people. And that's kind of the cynical, pure calculation that they're doing, is what do we need to do to maximize the exploitation of nostalgia? I rambled on this for way longer than I anticipated. Oh yeah, and the last thing I wanted to mention is, if you noticed, we don't see Cortana in any of these reveals. And my bet is that they've modernized, quote unquote, her look. So she'll probably be a little bit flat chested. They'll probably throw some frumpy outfit on there, some body positivity fucking bullshit. It just feels like that kind of shit is going to be in there. And they're trying to figure out, what can we do to get the stuff in that we want to ideologically and profitability wise without pissing people off? Like, where is the line? And that's what they're doing with this, I think. I could be wrong. Maybe Cortana will be there, big naked anime, purple titties and all, but I'm very skeptical. All right, I'm gonna leave it there. I did not mean to ramble for 20 minutes on this. I like Halo so much, and it was such a part of my childhood that it's just so frustrating to see it just dug up and regurgitated in shittier forms over and over and over. I'll leave it here for this one. Let me know what you guys think of the reveal, if you care. I try to respond to the comments that aren't just insults. Like and subscribe and all that shit. Thanks. See ya.